Number 10. Mexican Watch Thieves. Last year, this pair of watch thieves made headlines in Mexico. She was gorgeous, he was violent. Together, they lived a life of crime. And naturally, they were compared to Bonnie and Clyde. But who actually were they, and how did they carry out their attention-grabbing misdeeds? Yves Lira from Venezuela and Wilson Infante from Colombia had a good thing going when targeting unsuspecting people and their valuables. They'd taken to hanging out in the expensive parts of Mexico City. Watches were their thing, and there was no shortage of these, even in the age of checking your phone constantly for the time. The target would be distracted by the attractiveness of Miss Lira. Then her partner brought the muscle, mugging the unfortunate victim, taking wallets and valuables, mostly nice watches. Reports state that the couple were part of a gang of thieves. They had been in trouble before and had a close shave with the law. Following her and Infante's arrest, Yves Lira managed to distract social media users. They apparently joked about paying her bail. And it goes to show that while some criminals are pretty smart, the general public can be very dumb for the stupidest of reasons. Number 9. Recognizing your robbers. It's not often that an attempted robbery ends in a kiss. That was the incredible and dumb situation that unfolded on the streets of Parcona, Peru. When 3 suspicious types riding a motorbike spotted a group of 3 women and 1 man, they must have figured they had their next payday in the bag. A closed-circuit television camera captured what unfolded. Things got dramatic when a guy got off the bike and tackled the male of the group, pinning him to the ground. The women must have been shocked and appalled, and one of them was also so surprised because she knew the people that were robbing them. Unbelievable, right? Talk about making a mess on your own doorstep. When the tough guy understood what was going on, he not only stopped trying to steal from the dude, he kissed his hand. How strange to receive a romantic gesture after being pounced on out of the blue by a criminal. The woman who was the potential next victim also planted a kiss on the thief before they rode off into the sunset. We're not sure who's dumber here, the robbers or the person they tried to rob. Still, it's better than a traumatic robbery actually taking place, we guess. Number 8. Bank robbers give themselves away on Facebook. In the age of social media, people enjoy telling the world about every detail of their life. However, it might be going a little far to allegedly commit a robbery and then wave a load of banknotes around on Facebook. Sounds like something from a comedy, but believe us, it happened. In 2015, a savings bank in Ohio was robbed by a man in a black hoodie. He was reportedly given thousands of dollars before he left. So far, so good, at least in a criminal sense. But when it came to tracking down those responsible, finding likely suspects turned out to be easier than anticipated. Couple John Mogan and Ashley DeBow, both in their 20s at the time, went online and posted snaps of themselves posing with large amounts of money. Boastful messages were written about living it up. Amazingly, Mogan was still on parole from a previous stint behind bars. What was he locked up for? You guessed it, robbing a bank. Mogan seemed to have a thing for taking pictures with the wads of notes stuffed in his mouth. Not very hygienic, but then we guess he felt confident about his crime. Police moved in on him and partner DeBow, and it's believed that Mogan was the robber and wore the hoodie so people wouldn't see his extensive facial tattoos. Number 7. Instant karma. The act of stealing packages off people's porches has become increasingly problematic, especially in Canada. It's one of the easiest yet most despicable robbery-type crimes that a person can commit. But in Mississauga, a suburb of Toronto, one of these sneaky porch thieves got some instant karma. He was driving through the suburb, scouting out packages to steal from people's houses. He saw that one looked enticing, so he pulled his car up, ran to the door, and stole the package. But this was in the winter, and he was driving a Toyota Yaris. He ended up getting stuck in the driveway because his car couldn't back out of the snow. This is the Canadian equivalent of robbing a bank with an empty tank of gas. The homeowner actually walked outside and saw the man with his package, which scared the thief, causing him to drop the package and run back to his car. In his haste to leave, he backed right into a snowbank, where he was now stuck between the driveway and the snow with his wheels spinning fruitlessly. The homeowner, instead of getting angry, simply pulled out his phone, called the police, and then filmed the thief desperately trying to get away. But he never did, and the cops showed up quickly and took the crook into custody. Number 6. Getaway driver drifts off. A bank robbery is nothing without a good getaway driver, and Ricardo Barrios sounds nothing like a good getaway driver. Back in 2010, he drove a couple of pals to the Wachovia Bank in South Florida. Now, in fairness to Barrios, he may not have known his friends were planning to do that morning. It was a Sunday, and he gave them a ride super early. And according to police, he'd had a bit to drink. Maybe a fun Saturday night turned into a Sunday morning. The would-be robbers broke into the bank and came out making a loud jangling sound. How come? Because they could only get their hands on hard currency. All the notes were safely locked away in the vault. Plus, to ramp up the dumb factor even further, the coins made it difficult to move quickly, what with them being so heavy and all. The two robbers counted on Barrios to speed them away from the scene of the crime. That didn't happen. He was fast asleep and remained unconscious throughout the entire commotion. We're thinking next time, don't get a delivery driver who probably spent a night on the We're thinking next time, don't use a getaway driver who probably spent last night on the tiles. Barrios' friends were reportedly charged with burglary, and as for Barrios, we don't know whether he had a sentence handed down. Maybe someone handed him down a pillow instead. Number 5. Blowtorch Blunder. A blowtorch sounds like a pretty effective way of accessing an ATM, right? Those things are surely so tough that you've got to use heavy-duty equipment to crack open the goodies. However, the practicalities are more complicated than you might think. And add some goofballs to the mix and you have a recipe for disaster. In 2017, an ATM machine in Everett, Washington was targeted by a smash-and-grab crew. Attacking the wall holding the machine in place was probably a wise first move, but when it came time to free the money from its metal stronghold, that's when things started to go very wrong. The thieves fired up a blowtorch. We all know a blowtorch is super hot, right? Unfortunately, it was way too hot and began toasting the precious dollars inside. Spotting the cash inferno they created, one of the robbers resorted to drastic measures. They went to the bathroom on the fire. Not only is that insanely stupid, for one thing, what if you burn yourself? Ouch! But it didn't work anyway. With their dreams of easy money literally going up in smoke, the thieves made a run for it. They were penniless, and what's more, caused thousands of dollars worth of damage. Maybe they should have drank more on the way over, then they'd have something extra to put that fire out with. Frankly, we're impressed that someone can pee on demand in a stressful situation like this. That's about the only vaguely impressive thing about the whole sorry story, of course. Number 4. Strip Club Screw-Up. When you hear about a place that's both a strip club and a church, you can't help but wonder about the wacky situations that go on there. This possibly unique place is located in Ontario, Canada. The reason we're mentioning it is because a robbery took place there in 2016. And yes, it was a pretty dumb one. The thieves rolled up in a pickup truck early in the morning. It's thought that they did this because they figured everyone was asleep. Well, that doesn't sound too strange. However, what is strange is that they then drove the truck into the doors of the building, no doubt making a ton of noise and waking the people they didn't want seeing them carry out the crime. So anyway, after this commotion, they make their way onto the premises. Inside is what they're after, an ATM machine. All they gotta do now is take it out. But how? After struggling to get it out of there, during which time the machine is actually dropped down some stairs, they attach it to the truck with a chain. What follows is yet another passage from the Book of Stupidity. By this time, police were well on their way. They arrived just as the robbers made their getaway, dragging an ATM machine behind them on a chain as they left. After all that effort, they didn't even get away with the money. The ATM came loose from the chain, and it was all for nothing. The strip club / church was faced with a bill for approximately $100,000 after these burglarizing blunders were finished. Number 3. World's Most Helpful Burglar. Our next case sounds like less a burglary and more like a bizarre experience with an Airbnb. Over in Lancashire, England in 2014, aging couple Martin Holtley and Pat Dyson were coming home from a vacation. They walked into their home, which was clean, tidy, and maybe a bit too tidy. They had a strange feeling that someone was in the house, living there instead of them. If this was a burglar, then they had impeccable manners. Aside from a single burnt saucepan, that is. What kind of fiend breaks into someone's home and burns one of their saucepans? Appalling behavior. Apart from that, everything seemed alright. So who made themselves comfy in Holtby and Dyson's home? The answer to that question was coming in a truly unexpected way. Opening the door to the bedroom, they found the culprit, Lukasz Chanowski, asleep in their bed. You know what they dubbed him after that, right? You probably guessed it. Goldilocks. What wasn't so golden was the fact he'd accessed their lovely house without permission. Also, he didn't speak English very well. Mind you, would he have been able to justify himself had this grasp of lingo been perfect? We very much doubt it. Confronted with this terrifying, if tidy sight, the couple shut him in and called the authorities. Other things Lukasz got up to included bringing in supplies and having a relaxing bubble bath. As burglars go, he could have been a lot worse, right? So what's this guy's story? Apparently he lost his previous lodgings and figured the couple's house was abandoned and up for grabs. Didn't any of the neighbors see him walking around and wonder who he was? Not really. They figured he was just their grandson. Ultimately, Lukasz paid Holtby and Dyson nearly $300 and was given a 2-year conditional discharge for his dumb yet audacious exploits. Number 2. The Penguin Stealers. SeaWorld in Queensland was the location of arguably the most unusual burglary of 2012, a penguin. This 7-year-old fairy penguin named Dirk wound up spirited away from its enclosure by a couple of tourists from Wales who, it's safe to say, may have been a little worse for wear. Fresh from an Aussie beach party, Rhys Jones and Kerry Mules were obviously after something a little more Arctic in nature. Reportedly accompanied by a young Australian man, they somehow managed to break in and get Dirk back into their accommodation. Waking up and realizing their mistake, they went to the canal and tried to release Dirk into the wild. Because penguins are known for their love of canals, right? It wasn't long before authorities caught up with the Hellraisers turned zookeepers. Poor Dirk wound up getting snatched, but he wasn't the only wildlife under threat. The offbeat burglars also took a dip with dolphins and appear to have bothered some sharks with a fire extinguisher. It was pointed out to them that they could have lost their lives had they messed with the wrong creature. These drunken dopes were clearly in the wrong, but they seem to have not had the full weight of the law brought down upon them. You can't really lock someone up for drinking vodka and stealing a penguin, right? Also, the offenders were genuinely remorseful, writing a letter to apologize for what they did to Dirk and the sensibilities of marine lovers across Australia. They were given a fine of 1,000 Australian dollars each. Presumably, Jones and Mules are back in the less exotic climate of Wales, where the only things to steal are sheep and the odd pigeon. Number 1. Calling the cops on yourself. Our last story comes from this year and focuses on a pair of suspected burglars who made an ass of themselves while supposedly robbing a property in Staffordshire, England. And by ass, we aren't just using that word lightly. The backside of one of these middle-aged intruders proved crucial in drawing attention to their antics. So what happened? Everything looked like it was running smoothly, till the police were called. Not by a concerned citizen either. One of the guys managed to call the cops. With his ass. Reportedly, the dumb dude sat on his phone with his butt and just so happened to hit 999. Talk about a bum rap, huh? Sorry, that gag was a little cheeky. The police were then able to eavesdrop on the situation via the alleged burglar's phone, but they did have a sense of humor about the situation, though we're guessing the guys who got arrested didn't. Taking to social media, cops compared the dangerous duo to the housebreakers of the movie classic Home Alone. By the way, when we say they're dangerous, we mean as a danger to themselves. Thanks for watching. Are there any dumb robberies you think should have been included on this list? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on The Bad Badger.